Shalom Aleichem. I am here with the third reading in the Torah portion of Vayetzei. All right, let us begin. Third reading starting with chapter 29, verse 18. Torah up here, wRashi down here. All right, let us begin. Verse 18, chapter 29. Jacob loved Rachel, and he said to Laban, I will work for you for 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter. All right, verse 18, wRashi. I will work for you for 7 years. This is the short while that his mother had mentioned to him. Remain with him a while. You can see that this was so, for it is written, in his eyes they seemed a mere few days. For Rachel, your younger daughter, why did he need to mention all these details? Because he knew about Laban, that he was a swindler. He said to him, I will work for you for Rachel. And should you say that this means another Rachel from the street? Scripture quotes Jacob as saying, your daughter. And should you say, I will change Leah's name and call her Rachel? Scripture quotes Jacob as saying, the younger one. But despite all this, it did not help, for Laban deceived him anyway. Verse 19, Torah. Laban replied, better that I give her to you than give her to another man. Stay with me. So Jacob worked 7 years for Laban in order to marry Rachel, but in his eyes they seemed a mere few days, because of his love for her. Verse 20, wRashi. All right, there's no 20, so 21, Torah. At the end of 7 years, Jacob said to Laban, give me my wife, for the time my mother allowed me to remain here is up, so that I can engage in marital relations with her. Verse 21, wRashi. My time is up, the time which my mother told me to stay here. Furthermore, my time is up, for I am already 84 years old, and when then shall I produce 12 tribes? That is the reason it says, so that I can engage in marital relations with her. Surely, even the most common of people do not speak in such a manner. However, Jacob spoke this way because his intention was solely to father children. Verse 22, Torah. So Laban gathered together all the local people and made a wedding feast. At nightfall, he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob. He engaged in marital relations with her. Verse 24, Laban gave his bondwoman Zilpah to his daughter Leah to be her bondwoman. When morning came, behold, Jacob discerned that it was Leah he had married. So he said to Laban, what have you done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I worked for you? Why did you deceive me? Verse 25, wRashi. When morning came, behold, it was Leah. But at night it was apparently not Leah. This was because Jacob had given certain secret signs to Rachel whereby he could identify her. However, when Rachel saw that they were bringing him Leah instead of her, she said, now my sister will be put to shame. And so she went and disclosed those signs to her. Verse 26, Torah. And where's 26? Laban replied, in our region, giving a younger daughter in marriage before the older is simply not done. Complete the bridal celebration week of this one, Leah, and then we will give you that one, Rachel, too, in return for the work that you will do for me for another 7 years. Verse 27, wRashi. completes the week of this one. The word here, it is in the construct form, for it is vocalized with a chataf, a sheva. Thus means the 7 days of this one. And these were the 7 days of wedding festivities. So is stated in Talmud Yerushalmi, Moed Katan. One cannot say that it means literally a week, for then the shin should have been vocalized with a patach, kamatz, as it would then not be in the construct form. Furthermore, Alright, so this is a grammatical commentary. So I'm going to move on to this one down here. And then we will give you, this is a first person plural form, as in, let us descend, and let us confuse, and let us fire bricks. So this, too, is a form of, and we will give. That one, too, immediately after the 7 days of festivities, and you will work for her after marrying her. Verse 28, Torah. Jacob acquiesced to Laban's proposal and completed the bridal celebration week of this one, Leah, and then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. Laban gave his bondwoman Bilhah to his daughter Rachel, to be her bondwoman. Jacob thus also married Rachel, and he loved Rachel even more than he loved Leah. He then worked for Laban another 7 years. Verse 30, wRashi, for another 7 years. By referring to them as other years, Scripture compares them to the first years, just as in the first years he worked faithfully. So too, in the later years he worked faithfully, even though Laban had dealt with him deceitfully. Verse 31, Torah. God saw that Leah felt hated by her husband. God therefore opened her womb, while Rachel remained barren. Leah conceived and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, for she said, God has seen my humiliation, for now my husband will love me. Verse 32, wRashi. She named him Reuben. Our rabbis explained. She said, see the difference between my son and my father-in-law's son Esau. For Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, showing disdain for it, whereas this son did not sell his birthright to Joseph, for he valued it, unlike Esau. Furthermore, when it was taken from him, he did not complain about it, and not only did he not complain about it, he was the one who tried to take Joseph out of the pit. Verse 33, Torah. She conceived again and gave birth to a son. She said, because God heard Shema, that I felt hated, and he gave me this one as well. And she named him Shimon. She conceived again and gave birth to a son, and she said, This time, my husband will become attached, Yilave, to me, for I have borne him 3 sons. God therefore called him Levi. All right. Verse 34, wRashi. This time my husband will become attached. Since the matriarchs were prophetesses and knew that 12 tribes would be produced from Jacob, and that he would marry 4 wives, Leah said, from now on he has no reason to complain against me, for I have assumed my full share of bearing him sons. Therefore, regarding every son about whom it says, therefore his tribe had a large population, except for Levi, because the holy ark would decimate them. He named him Levi. Concerning all the others it is written, she named, whereas with this one the verse writes, he named. There is an agadic explanation in Ele Devarim Rabbah that The Holy One, blessed be he, sent the angel Gabriel, and he brought Levi before him. God then gave him this name and gave him the right to receive the 24 priestly entitlements. And because he accompanied him with these gifts, he called him Levi. Verse 34... Verse 35, Torah. She conceived again and gave birth to a son. She said, "This time I will thank Ode, God." And she therefore named him Yehuda, Judah. She then ceased bearing children. Verse 35, Rashi. "This time I will thank, for I have taken more than my natural share. Therefore, from now on I must give thanks." Verse 1, Torah. Chapter 30. Rachel saw that she had not borne any children to Jacob. Rachel was therefore jealous of her sister's good deeds. She said to Jacob, "Give me children, for if not, it will be as if I am dead." Verse 1, Rashi. Rachel was jealous of her sister. She was jealous of her good deeds. She said, "If she were not more righteous than I, she would not have merited to bear children. Give me children. Is this how your father acted towards your mother when she was barren? Did he not pray for her to conceive? It will be as if I am dead." From here we infer that someone who has no children is considered dead. Verse 2, Torah. Jacob became angry with Rachel and said, "Can I take the place of God, who has denied you the fruit of your womb?" Who has denied you the fruit of your womb? All right, verse 2, Rashi, means, "Am I instead of him who has denied you? You say that I should act like my father, but I am not in the same situation as my father. My father had no children, but I have children. He has denied you children, but not me." Verse 3, Torah. So she said, "Here is my bondwoman Bilhah. Engage in marital relations with her, and let her bear you a child. I will raise her children on my own lap, as if they were my own. And thus, through her, I, too, will bear children of my own, and thereby be built up into a matriarch." Verse 3, Rashi. On my own lap. Its meaning is, as Onkelos translates it, "And I will raise them, and thus I, too, will bear children." To what does the word "to" refer? She said to him, "Your grandfather Abraham did have children through Hagar, yet he girded his loins and exerted himself in prayer on behalf of Sarah." He answered her, "My grandmother brought a rival wife into her home." She said, "If that is what prevents me from having children, here is my bondwoman. And thus, through her, I, too, will bear children, just as occurred with Sarah." Verse 4, Torah. She gave him her bondwoman Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob engaged in marital relations with her. Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Rachel then said, "God has judged me, Danani, and has also heard my prayers, and he has given me a son." She therefore named him Dan. Verse 6, Rashi. God has judged me. He judged me once and found me unworthy, but now he judged me again and found me meritorious. Verse 7, Torah. Rachel's bondwoman Bilhah once again conceived and bore Jacob a second son. Rachel said, "I have persistently pleaded Niftalti with God to be on par with my sister, and I have prevailed." So she named him Naphtali. Verse 8, Rashi. Menachem ben Saruch explained this expression in his Machberet dictionary under the same entry as a fastened seal. "I have become attached to my sister with bonds from the omnipresent by meriting to have children, but I explain it as a similar expression to crooked and perverse. I contorted myself by making many pleas and connivances with the omnipresent in order to be equal to my sister. And I have prevailed. He agreed to accept my pleas." Onkelos, however, translates as an expression of prayer as if it were written, "Through many requests that are pleasing to him. I also accepted and answered like my sister. Thus, according to Onkelos, it means my prayers were accepted. There are also many Aggadic explanations that expound this word as a notarikon acronym. Verse 9, Torah. When Leah realized that she had ceased bearing children, she took her bondwoman Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Zilpah, Leah's bondwoman, bore Jacob a son. Verse 10, Rashi. Zilpah bore. With all the other wives, it says that they conceived, except for Zilpah, because she was younger than all of them and a child in age, so her pregnancy was not noticeable. Laban had given her to Leah in order to deceive Jacob, so that he not realize that they were bringing Leah, the older daughter, to him in marriage. For it is usual to give the older bondwoman to the older daughter, and the younger one to the younger daughter. Verse 11, Torah. Leah said, "Good fortune, Gad, has come." So she named the newborn Gad. Verse 11, Rashi, means good fortune has come, as in, may my good luck prevail and not wear out. A similar expression to it is, they who set a table for fortune. The Aggadic explanation is that he was born circumcised, as in, cut down the tree. But according to these explanations, I do not know why it is written as one word. Another explanation, why is it presented as one word, meaning disloyal? It is as if Leah had said to Jacob, "You have been disloyal to me by being intimate with my bondwoman, like a man betraying the wife of his youth." Verse 12, Torah. Leah's bondwoman Zilpah bore a second son to Jacob. Leah said, "I will be praised, for young women will praise Ishru me on this account." So she named him Asher. Verse 12. So there is none for 12 or 13. All right. And that is the Torah reading, the third Torah reading of Vayetzei. All right. I will read from the wisdom of the Lubavitcher Rebbe on the Parshiot, on the Parsha. That is the seventh reading. The third reading is right here, Genesis chapter 29, verse 18, through chapter 30, verse 13. Rachel introduced Jacob to Laban, who put him in charge of his flocks. Jacob married Laban's two daughters, Leah and Rachel. Leah gave birth to 4 sons in succession, while Rachel remained childless. Rachel had her bondwoman and half-sister, Bilhah, marry her husband, hoping that in this marriage she would also be blessed with children. After Bilhah had 2 sons, Leah, who had stopped bearing children by then, had her bondwoman and half-sister Zilpah marry Jacob, with the same hope. Zilpah also had 2 sons. The title of this wisdom on the Parshiot is called The Blessing of Children. Leah again conceived and had a son. Even after Leah had already been blessed with children, she still considered each subsequent child an additional blessing. The Torah teaches us that our ability to love expands according to the number of our children, as do the divine blessings of sustenance and livelihood. Thus, the more children we have, the more attention and material benefits we can give to each. The story of Leah is one of the numerous places in the Torah that emphasize the beauty and blessing inherent in the birth of each additional child. Each child is a unique reflection of God's image and has his or her unique contribution to make both to our lives and to our divine mission. And that is the wisdom on the third reading of Vayetzei. All right, have a wonderful day.